tonight, just for a little while. We've seen the Massatelli girls do their work for the night, and I think 2 of them have passed into dreamland already. Some of you usually do that during the sermon, but maybe tonight you'll be able to hold on a little longer. I ask you to do this because I'm wondering if you can remember what it was like when you were a kid and this holiday came. Some of you, I know, haven't even put aside some of the burden of getting ready yet. It would be nice if we could all say, well, we're all done and there's nothing more to do. But I know that just by looking at your faces, some of you are thinking about other things that you probably ought to do to get ready for either later tonight or tomorrow. I can remember when these were little kids. There's a 4th one, by the way. She couldn't be here. She lives in Virginia also. When they were little, I would come home from this late service and have about 3 hours of preparation, putting toys together, and they always picked those complicated things like castles and doll houses and other kinds of things. So I got to bed about 3:30 in the morning and then got up at 3:45. I don't remember what it was, but it was unbelievable. But take yourself back as a child and try to put yourself in the picture. Remember when December 1st came? Remember how you waited for December? And then December came. It was December 1st, and you could start to smell Christmas coming. Not only that, you could smell the end of school. And the anticipation used to begin to build in a big way. And then, for some of you, you don't know what I'm talking about, but the Sears catalog used to arrive. The Christmas wish book. And you'd go through that. I went through that catalog, and pages were dog-eared and marked. And my sisters, when Mary was very little, my youngest sister, every once in a while, she'd tear out a page, and Sally and I would look at her like she'd ripped out the whole book of Psalms in the Bible, you know. What are you doing to the wish book? The anticipation got to be greater and greater. And then we had picked the presents out. And you know, when you're a kid, the present now becomes the possible dream. This could happen. These things I want to have for myself, to use and to play with, this could happen. It's possible that I will get these things if we were lucky enough. And our parents had guidelines. You remember that? Guidelines about presents? You'd ask for things. And parents didn't always tell you, well, no, you can't have that, or whatever the story was, but there were codes, you know? You looked at your parents and you got the code. It wasn't always spoken, but it was very clear when you talked about presents with my parents, at least. It was very clear. I would say, Mama, I want for Christmas, blah, 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 blah. And if my mother said, well, we'll see, that was not a good sign. We'll see that meant, no, that's not going to happen. And even as an 8 or 9-year-old, I could understand that. Well, not all things were possible. And if she said, well, we'll see, it was that faraway look like not possible at all. It's not going to happen. And school got easier in December. Remember that? Oh, school got those last couple of weeks. The last week was a joke, let's face it. The teachers, understanding that he had a room full of present-crazed children who had lost most of their minds thinking about Christmas, didn't give you much work to do. You remember that? And then you had those Christmas parties and everybody was supposed to bring cookies. I used to bring those Salerno butter cookies with the hole in them. That you put them on you remember these? Put them on your finger, eat around the edge, make them last a long time. Because you didn't want to just eat the cookies right away. They had to last. And besides, when the cookies were over, you went back to some ridiculous work, reading, or sometimes the teacher would say a poem. Oof. And even before school was out for the holiday, we would go to buy the Christmas tree. We were still going to school, and Dad would say, tonight, we're going for the tree. You remember these things? Oh, that was a big deal. We're going for the tree. Trees used to cost, real trees, $3. There were $5 trees and $3 trees. And of course, we always bought the $3 tree because everybody knew, at least my dad knew, those $5 trees really aren't worth it. So we get the $3 trees, and we'd be driving down into the neighborhood in Chicago where the trees were sold right next to a department store. And I remember the back seat of the old Dodge, the three of us kids, Mary and Sally and myself, we were out of our minds practically, bouncing around. And you heard those things like, it settled down. It just settled. You know, Jerry Seinfeld says when you're an adult, for a child, everything is down. Settle down, quiet down, lay down, calm down. You know, it's all down when you're a kid. And a kid, you're looking at your parents saying, hey, life is up. Everything is up. And the presents are going to be under that tree. This very tree that we're buying tonight is going to be loaded with presents. What an amazing thing. My sister Mary was my youngest sister, was so excited and was such a cute little girl. She used to run out of the car immediately and launch herself at a Christmas tree. They'd all be stacked up. She'd just jump on a Christmas tree and hug it. She loved those Christmas trees so much. Sally and I used to look at her like there was something definitely wrong with her, but that was what she did. And another thing, do you remember your mom and dad's energy around Christmas time? I mean, some of you are lucky enough to still have your parents around, and maybe they're very old. But do you remember what they were like when they were young and the energy that they had? I think they loved watching us. I think they loved seeing the joy and the laughter and the enthusiasm that just was running over among us kids. And my dad would bring the tree home and then put the tree up and hang the lights just so perfectly. And he kept stepping back. If you don't know this trick, you step back and you blur your eyes. You see? You blur your eyes to see if the lights are evenly distributed and the blue ones aren't all stuck together somewhere and they're all spread out. And he would do that over and over again until the lights were perfect. And then we would trim the tree, all of us kids. We would only use the plastic ornaments, of course. My father put all the black ones on the glass ones. And I remember Mom and Dad very clearly, tonight of all nights. I remember them most clearly. And I also remember doing the same thing when my 4 kids were little. Remember one year we had a huge Christmas tree. We had a bay window, one of the parsonages we lived in. And the ceiling was 11 foot. And I bought a tree that barely fit. I had to cut the top of the tree off. One day I came home and the tree was talking to me. It was actually Mark. He'd climbed up the back of the tree. He was about 2 years old. He had a lot of fun with that tree. The energy for life that everyone had in those scenes in our memories, the enthusiasm we had as children. Do you remember it? Do you still have it? I'm not sure. In my own life and in the lives of those I see. Something happened to us, didn't it? When we got to be adults, something happens to us. And I think, unfortunately, it's a basic error in our human nature. It's a flaw. It's maybe even a sin that enters into us. Nearly all of us, all people I know, certainly in myself. And sometimes it's expressed in the words I hear people say when you ask, well, what are you going to do for Christmas? Are you going to have a nice Christmas? Then they say, well, you know, Christmas is for children. When the children were little, we did a lot for Christmas. But Christmas is for children, you know. They love it. We're adults. The implication is we're adults now, and we have to deal with the tough realities. We don't put them aside when we come in here on Christmas Eve. I know that. There are lots of tough realities represented in this room and everywhere. 2 years ago, my baby sister Mary, died suddenly. And I'm still dealing with that reality. And I know there are so many others grieving this holiday season. Maybe the first Christmas without a loved one. But the loss of enthusiasm and the curbing of joy and the putting aside of the expectation of presents and good things, I don't think God meant these ways to be our way. I don't think we were meant to put all this away because we have grown up. Perhaps they are truly how we are made to live.